Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the annual Maryland APEX Accelerator Roundtable, Selling to the Government in 2025. Glad you could join us on this chilly morning. I'm your host, Yasmin Razak, and I'm the Marketing and Training Coordinator here. Today's event is slightly different from our usual training because it is based on your questions over the past year on state, local, and federal government contracting. We're also going to hear a fantastic success story from one of our clients, Kim Alley, who will share her story with us, which I'm sure you're going to find very inspiring. I do have to let you know that this event is being recorded and will be available on the Maryland APEX Accelerator website and YouTube channel. At the Maryland APEX Accelerator, it is our mission to help Maryland businesses to compete in federal, state, and local government procurement processes. Our services are no cost to you. All you need is to have a business that is registered in the state of Maryland. So if you think you need advice, please register on our website, marylandapex.org. And if you've been counseled before, but you just need further help, please email your counselor to request another meeting. And there you see on screen, the lovely looking team, even if I say so myself. Most of us are here today. So hopefully, this is a great opportunity to get to know us a little bit better. Just over to review a little bit, you can learn a little bit about how we are structured. We're hosted by the University of Maryland, College Park, and we've been open since 2002. And since then, we've helped over 8,000 clients win awards of up to $45 billion. Of course, as many of you know, we are funded by the Department of Defense, Office of Small Business Programs, and we changed our name back in 2022 from the PTAC to the APEX Accelerators. There are many of us across the country. There's 96 at the moment, and we all come under the Professional Association NAPEX, in case you are interested in that. There's some numbers for you. Over the last year, we've helped nearly 1,000 businesses win awards of up to $162 million. And obviously, we host and participate in many events across the state. We offer counseling, we offer training and outreach, and we also have a bid match program. So there's lots of ways for us to help you with resources and expertise and connections. So that's why you should take advantage of working with us. Okay, so before we get started with the first question, I would just like the team to just very briefly go around the room and introduce yourselves. Pam, would you like to start?
Sure. I'm Pamela Miner, as it says on the screen. I have been with the APEX Accelerator for roughly 9 years in an on and off kind of position. And I've been in government contracting for well over 30 years. I owned and operated my own IT government contracting business. I had all the boxes checked for the woman-owned, 8A. I had everything but HubZone and this veteran. So I know the programs from being in them as well as helping people get assigned to them.
Thank you, Pam. Amina, would you like to go next?
Sure. Good morning, all. Again, my name is Amina Parson, and I have been in the government contracting space for almost 20 years, specifically assisting and supporting program managers, mostly at the DoD level, in writing acquisition documents as well as awarding contracts. And so now I'm on this side of the house to assist businesses in understanding that process and assisting in winning government contracts. So glad to be here.
Thank you, Amina. Alex?
Hi, I'm Alex Peacock. I've been in the government contracting field for about 40 years, 20 of them as a procurement type officer with both private industry doing government business and with the government. In the last 20 years of my career, I've actually was a government contractor myself with a company, and I've been with the APEX Accelerator. This will be year 3 at this point. And I just wanted to sort of leverage my experience in government contracting to help entrepreneurs such as yourself to be successful.
Thank you, Alex. Richard, would you like to go next?
Sure. Good morning. My name is Richard Payton. I'm a counselor with the Maryland APEX Accelerators. I was never a contracting officer. I have over 30 years of experience, however, in federal sales, working with contracting officers and all the program managers you can imagine. So I think I can share with you probably a lot of knowledge about, how to use contracts to obtain orders and what contracts you should pursue and, how to reach people and things like that. I'm also pretty familiar with the FAR. I've read it actually a couple of times. I don't think it's very exciting reading. I don't recommend it to a lot of people, but I actually have a 3-ring notebook I keep in the room. When people ask me, I open it up and read it again to make sure I'm giving the right answers. One thing about the FAR, it's ever changing. So always sign up for things, I'm encouraging you to do this, so you are aware of the most recent FAR situations.
Thanks, Richard. Thank you. Tara?
And I'll bring it on home for the team. My name is Tara Scott, and I have been a government contracting officer prior to joining the APEX Accelerator Center, which I guess I've been here almost 3 years. So I was in the GovCon space. Also, after I left the federal government, I went into the private sector and was the director of contracts at a woman-owned small business. So I'd like to say I bring to you insight from inside the head of a contracting officer, try to keep you protected in ways to kind of navigate the federal procurement world. And then I feel your pain because I've experienced it being working with a small business. So that is me in a nutshell.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you, everybody, for introducing yourselves. And obviously, I'm the training and marketing coordinator. I've been here nearly 7 years, and my background is in journalism, public relations, and marketing. And most of you know me by my voice, obviously, because I host most of the webinars, well, all the webinars really that we bring to you. And some of you may have even met me in person at events, outreach events. So it's great to be able to work with you all again. All right, so let's get this started then. First question, what policy changes should I expect under the new administration that could impact government contracting in 2025? Pam, would you like to start this one off?
Sure. What you can look for is, as we've been hearing, the whole idea of DEI, diverse, equity, and inclusion is something that they're moving away from, and therefore that will affect the government contracting space. It will affect it in a way that as you've seen, even with anyone who's gotten like an 8A certification recently, it has gone through things due to the movement away from more of from gender and race identity kind of situations. The good thing is that we've always told you to don't lead with your set-asides, because that sounds like that's all you had to offer, is that you filled out paperwork and got a set-aside, when you should be leading with your strengths, your expertise, and your ability to deliver. So that does not change. So if you look at that, how do you do a business with the government under that kind of structure that we're moving to? You want to look at the contract vehicles is probably more helpful. So in the contract vehicles from the GSA, General Service Administration schedules, you want to look at indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts. You want to look at contracts for subcontracting, which these are things we always talked about before. So it doesn't change from that. It's just that to focus on the set-asides, it was never an ideal position to put yourself in anyway. So just look at how can you deliver. Think about your strengths. Think about your capability statement and how you can differentiate yourself. Make sure your dynamic small business search data is up to date. And that has always been a problem for a lot of people, but they've made it easier to be able to go into the dynamic small business search and make sure that you can stand out from the crowd. So remember, when the government is asking you questions, they asking you because they want the answers. So if you missed the opportunity to give them answers to questions they've already asked you, you are missing the boat. And I would think of it from the standpoint of if you didn't think enough of your own company to answer the questions that the government is asking, how strong are you going to be in delivering for them? So that's basically, in a nutshell, you want to be sure that you have the skill set. You want to look at the niches. You want to subcontract. You want to look at the mentor protege programs. And that's what, especially in the DoD spectrum, because that's been a program that they've been pushing and moving for quite some time. And they want you to get the experience and exposure to businesses that have already been there and done that. So that's your best, the best avenue is the avenue you should have always been taking anyway, strengthening your qualities, your quals and whatnot, and making sure that you can respond to them in that fashion. You want to be able to have the networking skills that you need to be able to connect and make those connections.
Thank you, Pam. Anybody else like to chime in on that one?
Yeah, I'd like to just add one thing. Pam, I thought that was very good, by the way. But one thing that was fairly recent, 2 weeks ago, they announced the SBA final rule. Now, a final rule is when an idea has been sent out to the government, by the government, to the general population, and everybody has a chance to comment on it and come back. And then after they get the return, then they, review it, and then they come up with a final rule, and that final rule is basically automatically approved and will become part of the FAR during the year, but we can't guarantee any date. But the significance of it was this. Pam was right, that it's difficult for a small company, particularly minority companies, to succeed when they're getting it. It's more and more difficult now that we have all this automation. AI will be writing wonderful proposals, much better than I could have ever written. But what it gives you the opportunity to do is to allow another small business, not a person, but a business, a small business, to buy into your company, like up to 30%. You don't have to sell them 30%. You could sell them 10% or whatever, okay? But the thing is, they may be doing $20 million, have a lot of great past performance, learned how to overcome some hurdles that you haven't encumbered yet, and they will now be part of your company. So when you go forward with your past performances, this is like a new JV actually. So you could, that company is now an owner of your company. So their past performances are part of your past performances. So now if you do make the option to just sell a portion of it, you'll have that benefit. Look for that to become active during the year. In the meantime, you can achieve this benefit by forming joint ventures. That's all.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, well, we'll move on to our next question. Is there anyone that can help me with SAM? I am SAM registered, but I need assistance in making sure that I responded to all the questions correctly. Who at your organization can assist, and what help can I expect to receive? Amina, can you tackle this one?
Sure. So in regard to this particular question, it sounds like they have already registered and they're looking for assistance on those next steps in responding to questions. And so some of those follow-up questions, some examples of those would be that you may be asked for to verify entity information. Yes, we can assist you in understanding and walking you through how to do that. Correcting any discrepancies in your submission, as well as updating any of your certifications. That may be another follow-up question that you may see. You may have to provide proof on the renewal of those certifications down the road. And then what I've also seen is for IT related contracts, you may be asked about compliance in regard to cybersecurity standards. And so those are some of the things that we can walk you through. Now, on the flip side, if you have not registered in SAM, we can also assist you with that as well. Mostly for the clients that I work with who are not currently registered in SAM, I'll have them share their screen and walk them through the registration process from there. Typically, it's important to have that notice from the IRS that will include your EIN information. An important thing to note is that you want to ensure that what is in that notice is reflected in your SAM registration to include any spacing, any commas, and if you had any typos that are reflected in the IRS notice, you still may need to include that in your SAM registration due to the fact that your SAM registration will not go through if those discrepancies are found. So those are some of the things that I've assisted clients with and I can assist you with going forward.
Thanks, Amina. Anybody else like to offer what their strategy is with SAM registration?
I would suggest to make sure you download the list of documents that they want you to have so that you can have them available. You want them available on your drive or on a disk kind of thing so that you can have them ready available. If you have them available, looked at the list, you don't want to just get in SAM and then find out, oh, I got to have this, I got to have that. So the best way is to identify what you need to have before you even log on and have that available.
Thanks, Pam. And I also want to let you know that Pam and our intake coordinator, Michael, will be doing a live demonstration on registering in SAM. I believe we have it scheduled for April. They will walk you through some of the obstacles or pitfalls to look out for. So look out for that training on our calendar. All right, thank you. All right, the next question. How can I leverage market intelligence tools or resources to identify federal, state, and local contract opportunities? Alex, can you tackle this one, please?
Yes. To make sure I fully understand the question, there are a ton of private sector marketing sort of tools. We here at the Maryland APEX Accelerators, we don't endorse any of those at all because they can come with a very high subscription price, which is very hard for new companies to be able to afford. However, there are a lot of different ways you can get marketing intelligence on your own, which is free of cost. It does require a lot of effort on your own part. One of those is using usaspending.gov, which is a federal government website, which you can put in your NAICS codes and look up the awards that have been made over the recent years for the types of goods and services that you sell. You can also go use acquisition.gov to look for various federal agency procurement forecasts to look for opportunities that will be put out during that agency's fiscal year. And the key is really just, I call it the old-fashioned, old-school networking is once you know about an opportunity, you have to start finding the points of contact in those agencies to be able to begin the process of trying to build a business relationship with them, letting those points of contact know who you are, what your company's capabilities are. There are ways to try to find out about what their mission is. Look them up on social media, such as LinkedIn, and try to find out what their role in the agency is. Try to even join some of the, if it's not too costly, maybe any of the professional associations that the points of contact might use to be able to get to know these folks more organically, so you can get to meet them without going through or feeling as if you're putting a hard press on them to sell your goods and services to them. But once you are networking with them, find out about what their needs are, let them know what your company's capabilities are and what the value propositions that you bring forward to them to be able to help them to meet their mission.
Thanks, Alex. Anybody else use any tools?
Yeah, I love it. Thanks, Alex, for that. I think what I also heard is, how do you leverage some of those tools? So when you're looking at a procurement forecast, you want to make sure that you look at who is the incumbent contractor if they provide you that information. Why do you want to know that? Because you want to know who your competition is. And if you have, relationships maybe built with that prime, by all means, you should be reaching out to them to see how you can be maybe part of their team. You also want to look at what phase that the contract or the pending, I guess, opportunity is in. If you're responding to a request for information from the government agency, then you don't have to really prepare a full-on proposal, because the RFIs, or source of sought notices, are done during the government's market research phase. So I would say leverage all of your intel to help you decide if that is an opportunity that you want to target.
Very good. Excellent. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Tara. Okay, next question. What are the latest cybersecurity compliance requirements, such as CMMC updates, that government contractors must meet? Richard, can you tackle this one?
Sure. So let me just repeat this. So it's we're talking about CMMC. See, we need to repeat it. CMMC 2.0. That is different from CMMI. A lot of people don't understand that it's a different standard. This is the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. It became effective on December 16th. Now, that's great, but who does it apply to, okay? This really applies to all companies in the aerospace and defense supply chain, based on the types of data they handle and the security requirements they need to meet. So remember, everybody in essence is in the defense supply chain at one point or another. Some of you aren't there yet, but you will get there. So you will need to have it in aerospace. But you can still do a lot of business without CMMC in a lot of civilian agencies. As a matter of fact, 90% of them. Right now, there are only two that are really into CMMC, and those two are NASA and Homeland Security. The others are still not really requiring it, and neither Homeland Security is not requiring them on all of their contracts, just those that would deal with sensitive data. So that's what it is. There are three levels. There's a fundamental level, which they call foundational level. It's your basic protection, and it just is that you're taking. There's 8 questions you have to answer. It's pretty straightforward. And it doesn't require too much overhead on the behalf of the company. But, it's just practices to make sure that your unclassified data is secure. Now, I'm going to give you one of the big loopholes the Chinese have taken great advantage of. They're very smart people. They've got some wonderful AI tools. And so a lot of people, I have some clients, and they said, well, I'm not too worried about CMC because my guys all work at Fort Meade, and I do all the books, everything in my office in Columbia. I said, oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure you're right. By the way, can I ask you about your accounts payable? Do you make any note on there about the project code they're working on? Well, yeah, we do. Well, the Chinese are able to figure out by looking at everybody's records how many people are working on a project by code. And then after a while, they're able to figure out what that code stands for. So even though it doesn't appear that it's sensitive information, that's why this is for unclassified information. Things we don't normally think of as being classified. That's what this CMMC is all about. So they've done all sorts of amazing things, including replicating a fighter jet. from unclassified information. That's level 1, and that's going to be 90% of the small businesses, really. And then we go up a step, which is more level 2, which advanced. It's called general protection of classified information. It will require a third-party assessment. There are exceptions where you can be a self-assessment if you're in the industry, okay? But the first one, level 1, you can do the assessment all on your own. Level 2 is more arduous, and you will know if you're in that market because you're already a contractor and you already are working with some data, and you're probably working on a defense or aerospace contract. And then level 3, only a handful, and I mean a handful, like I think they've estimated 23 companies will be required to get it. And these are the giants. These are the guys like the Northrop Grumman's who have hundreds. Actually, I think they, in a presentation, they said they had 1,500 subcontractors. So they have to be careful at that level, very careful of, you know, making sure that everything's protected. Now, the irony of this, which I think might be a killer for us, is that the prime contractor is responsible for all of his employees and his subcontractors being cautious and careful and compliant with CMMC. So if you screw up, okay, and I'm not saying you screw up, but you make a mistake, they find information from you, you're a little guy, you're in trouble. But the guy who really cares is the prime contractor, because he's likely to lose the contract. And when he loses the contract, you're out of a job. So be aware, take it seriously. You don't need to worry about it. For the most part, for level 1, it's a few questions. It wouldn't hurt you at all to do it. Just so on your capability statement, you can say CMC level 1 certified. That would be a big positive step, okay? So I encourage you to go forward and get CMC. I want to tell you about one loophole in particular. Everything about the government's really cool because no matter what they say, there's always a loophole. So the loophole in this one is called a POAM. So a POAM is a plan of action and milestone, and POAMs will be granted for specific requirements that allow business to obtain conditional certification for up to 180 days. So if you have a valid reason why you couldn't complete your certification, you can apply for an exception, and that would be granted for up to 180 days or 6 months. So that's pretty much the newest with CMMC 2.0.
Thank you so much, Richard. And I just want to add that CMMC and cybersecurity related issues is a priority for DoD and for the APEX Accelerator. So we will be offering lots of trainings throughout the year. So keep your eye out on a training calendar. And I'd also recommend that you check out an organization called Project Spectrum, who are again tied in with what the APEX Accelerator goals are. And they specialize in helping companies get certified and compliant. So I believe Tara posted the link to their website in the chat, so you can have a look at that as well. Okay, what procurement vehicles or contract types, such as GSA schedules, GWACs, should I target for competitive positioning this year? Tara, can you take this one?
Sure. If you're a company that is a small business doing professional services, I bring you good news that Oasis Plus, which is on the GSA multiple award schedule, is going to be reopened for onboarding this summer. So Oasis Plus is a vehicle for small businesses, again, in the professional and other service contract labor standards covered for services. It's organized by, the related NAICS codes. So this is similar to what Oasis is, which was awarded on December 19th. So the GSA put out the first round of awardees. There were about 1,300 awardees that were made. But again, they're going to be on ramping and opening up the solicitation this fiscal year. I was told, maybe the summertime. So I would encourage you, and I'm going to put in the chat, you can go to GSA's Interact, which will give you some really, the latest and greatest on Oasis Plus. That's a good vehicle. The other one, if you're in the IT space, is NASA Soup 6. This one has had some challenges. They've been trying to award 6 now for a while, but it's still out there on the streets. And I was told that the solicitations are upcoming, I believe February 17th, for that response to the government for NASA Soup 6, which is a catalog type style of IT services. So anytime you're thinking about contract vehicles, you have to know what your business is to see if they are applicable to you. Not only at the federal level, you might want to look for Maryland's master contracts. So I'll put in the chat how you can find Maryland's master contracts that are out there right now. CAPS Plus is the big one for IT. Which has a similar style as GSA, the onboard, right? So when I say onboarding, I mean, you have to respond to the government's original solicitation. So I encourage you all, if you find one of those GWACs of interest, that you go on, if it's federal, go on sam.gov and look for the solicitation, or if it's GSA, by all means, GSA will give you information. So those are the 2 big ones that are out there in the federal space for GWACs that you should keep your eyes open.
Thank you,
Could I-
Tara.
Yeah, could I add to that? One thing, everything Tara said was absolutely correct, but I want people to understand why they're having this onboarding. It's because the small businesses were so successful. They outgrew their NAICS code standards, so they can't rebid as small businesses. So they need more small businesses to replace those who've already been successful, who can't bid on the following contracts. So the particular one there, the Oasis, is a great one to jump on because outstanding success.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, what are the best upcoming industry events or networking platforms to build relationships with federal and state procurement officers and prime contractors? This is a question we get asked a lot. So, Amina, can you start off on this one, please?
Sure thing. There's quite a few, so I'll name a few that just for the sake of time, but one that I highly recommend is the Maryland Ready, Set, Grow workshops. And those are put on by the governor's office for small, minority, and women business affairs. And it's a great networking event where not only can you meet other business owners, but you can also meet buyers on the state of Maryland level. And so the next event that the workshop is going to be held at will be in March, actually March the 6th, at the Horseshoe Casino in Baltimore. There's also Meet the Primes. I always suggest just staying on the radar for those events. The registration for 2025 will open up in July. And that's a really great way to meet prime contractors and start networking with them. Also, there is the Fort Meade Alliance, and with them, they provide a small business conference, which is going to be held February 27th. So I highly suggest registering for that. And specifically, the focus there would be on leveraging relationships between those buyers that are at Fort Meade. And they also have a program where they bring on vendors who are interested in doing business at Fort Meade. So it's something definitely to keep on your radar. And the last one I'll mention is the Central Maryland Chamber of Commerce. They're specifically having a legislative day in Annapolis, and that will be on January 21st. So that will be another great networking event.
Thank
That's all I
you.
have.
Thanks. Thank you, Amina. That's a great comprehensive list. Anybody else have any events that they particularly like or like to recommend?
No, just want to just point out that on our website, Yasmin has done a great job, and we also post some outreach events. So I put our website and the link to outreach events.
Thanks, Dara.
Thank
You're
you for
welcome.
that.
Yes, and the team also speaks regularly at outreach events. So we do try to get out there and make sure that we are in touch with not just meeting potential APEX Accelerator clients, but also networking with agencies and primes as well, so that we can build those relationships for you guys. So thanks again for your input. Okay, so now we come to the part of the presentation where we talk to one of our clients who has a great success story. I'd like to introduce our special guest. Her name is Kim Alley, and she's the CEO of Kim Alley Consulting, which is an SBA certified service-disabled veteran-owned small business that specializes in organizational development, employee wellness, and leadership coaching. Her firm has partnered with federal agencies like the Department of Veteran Affairs, Health and Human Services, NOAA, and the Department of Energy, delivering wellness solutions. As an APEX Accelerator client, Kim has worked closely with her counselors to achieve her contracting goals, including recently securing a spot on the GSA schedule. So let's get to know Kim and ask her about her inspiring journey. So Kim, feel free to unmute yourself and welcome.
Hi, Yasmin. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. Thank you again for joining us today. It's such an honor to have one of our clients come on and talk about how well they're doing. We find it very inspiring, not just for our clients, but also for us. You know, sometimes you get caught up in the weeds of doing the day-to-day grind of the work, that when somebody actually achieves something, it really lifts your day. So thank you. So we'll start off by asking you, what inspired you to establish your business in 2021, and what were some of the early challenges you faced when you were entering the government contracting space?
Yeah, well, first of all, Yasmin, it is a pleasure to be here and welcome everyone. And so many people might not know this. You might know it now from my new branding, but I came from a nursing background. And I even worked overseas. And after an unfavorable experience in the corporate world, I said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I need to have my own business. But unfortunately, it wasn't something that I was able to do immediately. I had to work my way up to it. And I still worked as a nurse when I came back to the States, and I bootstrapped my business. So started off in the commercial space. That was kind of hit or miss. And so I was at the hospital one day on my lunch break. It was a crazy day at the hospital. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I have to leave nursing. And I don't know if the Facebook algorithm heard me, but I'm scrolling and then I get this advertisement for a boot camp. It was a boot camp on how to learn government contracting, but at a very high level. So I signed up for the workshop and I said, you know what, let me test this. Let me see if it works. And so while I was in the program, it was only 2 months, but while I was in the program, I did an RFP for a city opportunity. It was for the city of Minneapolis. And I won. That was my very first time bidding on an opportunity. And I won with the support of this course. And so, Yasmin, it was for, you cannot believe how much it was for. It was $23,000 for a 1-hour training. And I'm like, oh no, like I have to master this. Like I can't leave all this money on the table. And so I wanted to learn federal contracting. And I'm sure most of you know on the call, federal contracting is a beast. It is an animal. And if you don't know what you're doing, you'll waste time, energy, and your resources. And so that's when I came to, back then it was Apex, but now I'm sorry, PTAC. It's PTAC back then. And I came because I was just lost. I didn't know what to do, where to start. I didn't know any of the acronyms. And so now my coach is Tara Scott. Shout out to Tara. And she's been super helpful. And so for those of you listening, if you're not currently working with the APEX, they can help you do everything. They can help you figure out what your NAICS codes are. I saw a lot of questions about registering in SAMs. They can help you get your capability statement together. They can help you narrow down who buys your services. And so in a nutshell, that's pretty much my journey and how I got into federal contracting.
Okay, well, that's great. Thanks for giving us a background on that. Obviously, very different background from the challenging career of nursing, and shout out to people in that industry, especially what you guys have been through in the last few years was pretty horrendous. And for you to come out and go in a completely different direction and get success there. So kudos to you. And yes, kudos to, of course, your counselor, Tara, who nominated you for the success story. And before you had Tara, you had Akeisha, who is no longer a counselor with us, but she still teaches for us. So you've been in very good hands.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about some of your successes then. You've partnered with prominent federal agencies like the Department of Veteran Affairs and HHS. Can you share a milestone project or a success story that stands out from your GovCon journey?
Absolutely. So the VA is the largest contract we have right now. That is a little over 2 million. So we're really happy when we landed that. And what I can say is it is hard bidding, right? But what you do is you do well, right? Because people already think that small businesses can't do the work, especially if you are a disadvantaged or minority owned business. They already have suspicions about the quality. And so with the VA, we came in and we did exceptionally well. And so the first year it was around mental health and wellness. And we managed to increase their AES scores. The previous year, they were at a 59 overall, and then we managed to get them up to 77, which is really great. And it speaks to the quality of our work. And so because it's a multi-year project, they extended us for option year 1. And so it's evolved. And so we are now doing work in terms of organizational health. Again, we talked about there's a new administration change coming in, and a lot of agencies are nervous, to be honest. People are leaving, they don't know what executive orders might look like. So we're just helping them navigate that transition. So I would say that's probably the biggest success story that we've had so far.
Okay, that's incredible. And you're right about mentioning people change is always a worry for most people. I never, some people say, oh, I love change, just throw it at me or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, really? Do you really? A lot of us don't want to move out of our comfort zone. So yeah, it's good that you pointed that out. And the nature of your business helps people to embrace that and gives them the tools to deal with that. So along
I
your
have a question.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
sure,
Yasmin, could I
Tara.
just jump in?
Of course.
And Kim, I loved your story with the VA. Do you mind sharing with everyone kind of how did you target VA? What did you do and who did you talk to land that contract? And I'm sharing what you share with me about doing some training, one little thing for One Oz Taboo office. So just
Oh, okay. So that's actually another agency. This department is relationships, and I was going to touch on that. Guys, this business is all about relationship, right? I know there are the FARs and this and that, but at the end of the day, people do business with who they know, like, and trust. And so now is the perfect time. This is the beginning of the second quarter. This is when market research is happening. This is when industry day events are happening. And so getting in front of people, getting people to know you, what is your unique differentiator in the market, and how can you provide value to the organization? I think that's the key, and that's how we were able to land the VA contract.
Thank you. And Tara, yes, I was going to ask you at the end of this chat about your input of personally working with Kim. So I will come back to you on that. So thanks for for joining in there. Let's talk about you getting onto the GSA schedule. Obviously, this is a great milestone. It's something a lot of our clients are trying to do. So congratulations on doing that. How has it impacted your business?
Oh my goodness. Like when I got the schedule, so we have two SINs or NAICS codes. So backstory, if you don't have your GSA, it's not like SAMS, you don't have access to all NAICS codes. You have to apply to get certain NAICS codes. So we have two. And Yasmin, when we got the schedule, it was like, oh my gosh, like we were missing out on all of these opportunities. And so, quick story, I'll share something that just happened with us recently. An RFI came out on sam.gov. Okay, a different NAICS code. We don't have this NAICS code, and it was fully open and competitive, meaning that it was open to any business. We responded to the RFI, okay? In the response, we told them that we have our GSA schedule under this NAICS code. Do you know 2 weeks later, that opportunity was on GSA under the NAICS code that we have, and then they moved it to a small business set aside. And so all of this activity is happening on a GSA, and so it narrows the competition. So it gives you a better opportunity to win contracts.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you for giving us a background on that. So yeah, I want to swing back to Tara now. Tara, you obviously have been working closely with Kim for what, the past year or so, or since Akeisha left. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience of working with her, what her particular, her personality and her experience that she brings to the table that makes her stand out?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Kim is always prepared. So I really appreciate the fact, I gave her a laundry list, said, here, go out, have at it. And she really, follows the steps and does her research, does it on, her own on things. And I feel one of the things is she wanted to pivot. And so we kind of just bounce strategies by each other. But she has the idea, and then she comes to me and says, tell me how this could possibly work. And I'm like, okay, you know all these things. So I find comfort in knowing that she takes a lot of responsibility and doesn't always rely on me. She'll come to me before too with the questions. So I'm never off track or coming, to our meetings unprepared because I already know what she wants to address. So I applaud you, Kim, in being prepared, and that kind of helps keep us on track. So
Thank you. No,
yeah.
you've been amazing also.
Oh, thank you. Sweet.
Thanks, Tara. And Kim, what was your experience like with actually getting help, one-on-one help from our organization? Because a lot of people think they can do this on their own. They really try and, they struggle and fall. And they don't know, as our counselor Pam likes to say, they don't know what they don't know. So when they come and sit down with us, and paints a much clearer picture of what you need to do to achieve your goals. So what would you have to say about that?
Don't go it alone. You have this free resource here. They are very knowledgeable and they can help you collapse your time. I'm telling you, if I was stubborn and decided to do all of this on my own, I wouldn't be where I am now. So take advantage of it. And like Tara mentioned, do your research first. You don't want to come to a meeting, well, what do I do? Because there's so much to learn in government contracting. You want to come to each session with a focus. And so if you're totally new, how do we register? Let's get me registered in this session. Next session, let's get our marketing material together, your case statement. All right, now this is what I sell, who buys my services? You want to have a plan and a strategy to attack this.
Thank you. And like you said, it's like having a team. So you're not just doing it on your own. So thanks for that feedback. And so wrapping this up, Kim, I'd like to ask you, what's the future for your business? Where do you see your consulting firm going down the road?
Oh, goodness. Yeah. So, we are approaching exciting times now. And so I've been looking information, data, it can help drive your decisions, right? And so if you look at, I'll say it, if you look at things like Project 2025, if you identify what's in the next administrations, what are they targeting? What do they want to implement into the next 4 years? That'll give you a guide. And so for us, AI is huge. Right. And so right now I'm currently learning AI strategy. How do I lead a team or organization through implementing effective AI? Also, how can we combine some of our services to make products using AI? So things like that. You want to be able to forecast what's in the future and how your business can pivot and adjust. Because if not, I hate to say it, but you might be leaving money on the table, or it could mean that, your business might have to shut down. I mean, it's a hard pill to swallow, but as small businesses, we have to stay ahead of the game. And that's how you do it is, keeping your eyes and ears open, looking at the data and what's forecasted.
Okay, and if anybody wants to learn more about your company, do you want to share any information of your website or anything like that?
Sure, yeah. So I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. You can look me up there and follow me. And the website is kimali.com. Pretty simple, just 6 letters.
Well, thank you so much, Kim. We're very proud of you. Thank you for sharing your story with us today, and we wish you continued success.
Thank you, Yasmin. It's been a pleasure. And for all of you, don't play small, and good luck in 2025.
All right, thanks again. Okay, so back to our questions. And the next question is, how do I narrow down the list of agencies to find one that fits me? And how do I reach out to procurement officers, and how often? Okay, so this is a good question. And I believe I'd like to, Richard, can you tackle this one?
Yeah, it's sort of a twofer, isn't it? So, okay. So I'm going to take this in 2 parts. One is how do I narrow down or identify and qualify federal agencies to pursue? And then separately, I want to talk about the second part of it, which is how do you meet procurement officers? So I want to thank Kim very much for the segue, which she's talking about forecast. And so we'll start off there with the how do I narrow down the list of agencies? The number one thing you really have to do is sit down and look in the mirror and say, what are the 2 or 3 things I really do well? What are the 2 or 3 things that I have past performance doing? I don't mean 1, but 2 or 3 past performance doing the same thing. And most of my clients really have 2 things, maybe 3, but usually 1 or 2, and occasionally 3 things that they have past performance doing in the last 3 years. So those, you got to know what you do. So knowing what you do, you now know what like your NACE codes are, because you can narrow it down that way. So every year, the federal government, on October 1st, every federal department has to issue their federal procurement forecasts. And the departments have agencies below them. So when you look at what now, if you know that you're into healthcare, Kim alluded to being a nurse, if you were to go to HHS, you can see there are a couple of different organizations there. If you want to do some studies, you might want to go to maybe CMS, which is part of HHS, or you might want to go to the Indian Health Service, or you might want to also go to NIH. And NIH is the one most people gravitate to. But see, that helps you right away know that if you're in nursing, this is a great place to go. But as you go through the procurement forecast, you're going to notice that the guy with the largest dollar contracts for healthcare is NASA, okay? They have 2 contracts worth over $1.5 billion because their goal is to send somebody into space and bring them back alive. And those contracts have lots of subcontractors. They have subcontractors in every single state. So this is a way to narrow it down. Know what you do, rely on your NACE codes, and look at the procurement forecasts. Now also, gravitate to things you like to do, okay? Like quite honestly, I really wouldn't want to do coal mining, all right? So I'm not going to go anywhere near coal mining opportunities. But if it has something to do with sailing, I'm all excited, okay? I'm not excited about certain hard labor opportunities. in difficult situations. So that's the first thing I would do. Now, when you look at these procurement forecasts, they provide estimates of what the government expects to purchase, and they provide estimates of when they will release the requirement. They're not guaranteed, they're estimates. Now, I was in sales for like 35 years or so, and I know that most of those estimates are put together at the flip of a switch at the last minute, and many of them aren't really going to happen, okay? One of the key questions, if you meet with the OSDBU guy, is this opportunity funded for this year? Most of them will say, well, we can't tell you that. That means no, okay? So find out, that's the best we can work on. So rather than rely on procurement forecasts, but that should be your first line, okay? That's what most people would tell you. But I encourage you to take a slightly different road. And that is, I would look for expiring contracts, not new RFPs, but expiring contracts. So if somebody's doing nursing and they've got a contract that's going to expire in July or August, I'm all in, because I've got several months now to get to know the agency and who the contractors are that are there, their program office, and the industry events that they go to, and what their hot spots are and what their hot buttons are and what they don't like to do. So I encourage people to really try to look at expiring contracts. Now, one of the nice things when you look at expiring contracts, they sort of come in two flavors. One is what I call a contract is here and gone in 5 years, but many of them are recurring. The same thing comes up over and over and over again with slightly different iterations to it. So try to identify recurring contracts that'll be expiring in 6 to 12 months. This will give you plenty of time to develop a bid, no bid decision. Now, I'm going to be telling you the truth. This is proactive. The other way is reactive. Proactive is when you're going out there and proactively looking at things and trying to identify them and sell them on ideas. Okay. The next thing I'm going to say is use a keyword search to identify current contracts. So you can put in lots of keywords or a few, whatever you want. But when you do that, you're going to try to be looking at, you're going to put something in, you're going to get a kickback, and the kickback is going to tell you the agencies, that have an expiring contract and the period of time you selected. So you're not going to say, I want all contracts that are going to expire after September 1st or something like that. You're going to put like a 6 or 9 month parameter around it. And then you're going to get a list of agencies that have those requirements. So when you look at the agencies, you're also going to be doing a little, Alex made mention before of USA Spending. USA Spending will actually tell you the amount of money the agency has spent on a particular contract. You can also look on FPDMS, Federal Procurement Data System, and you can see what the award value was. So now you know the government intended to spend $23 million on something. They're halfway through it. They should be at least 10 or 11 million, but they're at 4 million, so they're way behind, or they're at 17 million, they're way ahead. So you can use these two to work against one another to help you find out which ones are really growing opportunities and which ones are sinking. So now you're only going to be going after those recurring opportunities that are blossoming, okay? And then along the way, you're going to say, you know what? I wonder if I were to go to a large business and say, you're really well known at this agency. How would you like to team with me? And we'll go in and promote a small business set-aside. Now, folks, there are two types of small business set-asides. Small business set-aside means, it's not in writing, we really want to do business with a large business, but we want to make an award to a small business so we can spend a lot of dollars and show we're really helping small businesses, okay? It's backwards. So you go to any large business and say, I've been working with a particular agency and I've talked to the program people. I've had a couple of meetings. I've shared with them previous experience that we had, and they're all in. But this is a little bigger than I can handle. It's 40 people. I wonder if I could bring you in and you would be my subcontractor. They will gladly say yes to that, okay? So now you go in and you meet with the program office, okay? Forget we're not at the contracting area yet, okay? We're working in the program office and we get his buy-in that he's receptive to a small business set-aside with a large business in the background. They like the idea very much because they know the large business. My personal experience is most of the time when I did this, the procurement never was advertised. They're a large company, particularly GDIT and Lockheed Martin, was another one, SAIC. They already had another contract. So they just put the work on another contract. I sort of won, right? Because I got like 10 people, okay? I didn't have to worry about splitting it 50-50 because I couldn't afford to pay 20 families. I can only afford to pay 8 or 9. And so, it made it more palatable for me to win. So try to take these kind of strategies, looking at things that are going to work in the future, get in to know them, talk about lessons you've learned from your past performances with them so that they buy into you, okay?
Thank you, Richard. Sorry, I have to wrap it up there because we will run out of time. I know you have a wealth of experience and advice, especially with your sales background, so we really appreciate it. And of course, whoever is your counselor will be able to guide you as well on these issues. But thanks for such a thorough answer. Okay, next one is, I want to know the rules for when I'm ready to bid on federal and state contracts. Are there any rules or is there a guide or handbook? Yes, there most certainly are. Alex, would you like to do this one?
Sure. The main place you can look is in the Federal Acquisition Regulations, the FAR for the federal government, or the COMAR for the state of Maryland. And basically, it talks about what a responsible contractor is. And those are contractors who have basically a number of things. Number one, they have the resources to do the work, which means in most cases for small businesses, that would be the working capital to be able to carry the cost of the work until they're paid by the government. And typically, the way the government pays is you can bill after 30 days after you've completed a project, and it will take perhaps another 30 days to actually get paid. For small businesses, that can be sped up a little bit to 15 days or so, or 10 days. But you want to have enough working capital to be able to carry the workload that you are working on with a government, whether that's the federal government or state entity as well. The next thing, as a responsible contractor, you want to have past performance. The government does not want to be your first client. So if you have done work in the commercial sector, the commercial world, and you have clients, and you're going to be selling your product or service to the government, that's a plus, because the government then knows that you have a track record. They can even get information by asking your past customers what your performance was like in order to evaluate your performance. So you want to have past performance as well. The other thing is you want to know how to respond to a solicitation, an RFP or an RFQ. So being able to understand and read what the RFP has and what the requirements are, and being able to put a proposal together that is responsible to their requirements. That's an important component, as well as being ready to be able to do work with the government. And finally, I would just suggest that if you have not had the opportunity to be a prime contractor before, maybe you can get experience by being a subcontractor working with a prime who has done government business, because it will then help you to be able to understand what that government contracting environment is, and you get past performance also through that prime contractor, which would help you, and you'll get some knowledge of that particular agency that you support as well.
Thank you, Alex. Some great advice there. And as one of our most popular questions we get is how to guess past performance. So thank you for the tips on that. Okay. How do I find micro purchases which are under $25,000 in both state and federal contracting? Tara, can you take this one?
I can. Thank you, Yasmin, for the question. And there was a recent actually update to this. So recipients, and I'm reading this, and I'll put the CFR in the chat, but it increased to the micro purchase threshold for up to 50,000. So really anything 50,000 and under are considered those micro purchases. The best way, honestly, to find them is ask the small business specialist at that agency. How does your agency find contractors to award their micro purchases or their simplified acquisitions? So there's, this has been asked a lot of times, and I would go to the small business specialist and ask them, because I feel like they are your person, they interact with all of the offices and program offices as well as the contracting shop. So they're your best resource in that agency to find out those. Now, I will say at the state level, the minority business enterprise liaisons. So each state agency has an actual MBE liaison that you can reach out to them, send them an email, and ask to be put on their supplier list. Did not know this until I was at an event and talking to somebody from the state of Maryland's small business office. So I'm going to put the link to all of the state of Maryland MBE representatives. So you just have to know what agency you're targeting, right? So you kind of follow what your line of business is and send those MBEs an email and ask to be placed on their supplier list.
Thanks, Tara. I'd also like to add that we recently did a webinar on micro purchases, and I've posted the link in the chat if any of you would like to watch that. It is probably one of our most viewed webinars to date, so I encourage you to do that. Anybody else want to chime in on how they help their clients find these bid opportunities under 50,000 or 25,000?
Yes, I would like to chime in here. I know with DHA specifically, they do have an Office of Small Business Programs in which there are points of contact at that level where you can reach out to them similarly to what Tara just said and send them an email to say, hey, we're looking for those points of contact that are the micro purchase card holders, and they'll be able to point you in the right direction.
Thank you, Amina.
Mhm.
Okay. How can I gain access to decision makers to get sole source contracts that are specifically for veterans, VOSB and SDVOSB? Pam, would you like to take this one?
Sure. First and foremost, you had to make sure your VOSB and your service disabled vet certification is current, up to date, in speaking to what you do. You want to develop a strong capability statement to be able to prepare to send. You want to find, as we've been talking, targeting who in the agencies that do use the veteran-owned and the service disabled vet set-asides to find opportunities by using the FPDS and using USAspending.gov, looking at forecasts and things of that nature. You can find that information. You want to once you identify them, you want to prepare for the meetings with them. You want to know what they're talking about now. It's like a snapshot in time, because they want to know you're talking about what they're talking about right now, or that in case you forecasted it, also what they're doing in the future. Because you don't want to just throw out a NACE code because you say, what do you got for this NACE code or whatever? Or I'm a VSOB or SVO, the alphabet soup. They really hate when you lead with the search. They want to know, what do you do and what do you do well? So, and what do you do well that I'm looking for? That's the main thing. When you find what they're looking for by doing the homework, identifying any agency by looking for what they've done in the past, because they are cyclical. We have the capability of finding using in SAM, the ad hoc query program in there that gives you a lot of information. It's a lot more. When you go into SAM, it's not just for the entity identification, but it's also for be able to find information. As you know, contract opportunities, it will let you know about notice types and whatnot. So you want to make sure that you know the platform in which you're dealing in. Data is king. One of the things with the government is they give you so much data, you're overwhelmed with the amount of data. And where do I go digging down in that data to find what I need? You want to, as we've talked about, the obstacles in those organizations. And so when you want to participate in mentor protege, those kind of things. That was when I had my business, the mentor protege program was a fabulous program that I got involved in. And one of the things I got out of it was at that time, I needed a ISO 9000 certification. That's a quality assurance one. With getting that, that was a $50,000 certification. I did not have $1,000 to do that. So what I did with getting in, one of the things I wanted from the mentor protege opportunity was to get that certification. Not only did I get that certification from the mentor protege, I also got computers and software at the time. So I'm dating myself. So it's that kind of thing that you want to be looking for. And obviously using going through the VA and finding opportunities through there is where you're going to best find those kind of sole source contract opportunities.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Pam. And Pam is one of our veteran experts here at the APEX Accelerator. So if you are a veteran-owned business and you are wondering what kind of support you will receive, you will definitely be assigned to somebody who has a wealth of experience.
Yes, let me make a quick statement. Like one of my clients, he just recently got a $6 million contract. With that, he, as a service disabled vet, it was in transportation logistics. He already was in the SBA's mentor protege program. He didn't need that. He didn't need the fact that he was a service disabled veteran. What he did need was the relationships. He had already built years of relationships, even prior to starting his own business with the Coast Guard. Going back to your relationships, a lot of the opportunities I got was through relationships I had built in my career. And I had worked for Lockheed Martin. I had worked for Oracle. I had worked for all those. So they knew what I knew and trusted that I could do the work. So that's how you got to, in presenting yourself, that you're the one that can deliver.
That's a fantastic testimonial, Pam, and I look forward to you sending me that success story. Okay. All right. So we're going to wrap this up now by asking everybody on the team this question. What is one thing every business should do this year to improve their chances of winning a contract? We'll start with Richard.
Well, I would recommend that when you meet with somebody, you tell them what contracts they can use to give you an order. I see very few capability statements come in with that information. That's my biggest recommendation. How do they give you an order?
Okay, thank you. Amina?
I would say ensuring that you challenge yourself to keep networking and pairing that with data mining and including both pieces on a regular basis.
Thank you. Tara?
I was multitasking, y'all. So I think for the biggest thing would be just keep your relationships. You have to get in and just build relationships and target one or two federal, if you're going federal agencies, one or two. Other than that, persistence is key. So I would encourage you just to be persistent.
Thank you. Alex?
I would say, and it's been said by a couple of my colleagues, networking. Identify the opportunity or targets you want to go after, and then start finding who those points of contacts are and try to find ways to get in touch with them, to introduce yourself, your company, and let the point of contact know in the agencies how you can be of a value add to help them with their mission.
Thanks. And finally, Pam?
Yeah, I would say that, like we were talking about, the networking piece, I mean, I live by that, as well as, but I'm personally a data geek. I've been a database person for most of my career, so I don't mind spending time an hour sifting through data. That's not what most people want to do. So that's why you got to clearly identify what you're looking for. Before I became a computer scientist, I was a communications person. So I learned the 6 interrogatories: who, what, when, where, why, and how. That's what you want to know. What do you do? Who does it? When do they do it? Where did they do it? Why did you do it? Once you can tell that story, you can get you right on the right track and get you to what you need to do.
Thank you all. I guess my piece of advice would be, apart from attending our trainings, would be go to our website and download our checklist. We get thousands of businesses signing up with us every year, and we want to help everybody. But we also want you to be realistic about the expectations of being a government contractor, having all your ducks in a row. And we found that this checklist really helps to prepare potential clients to get all their paperwork together and get as much information as they can gather about their business. And also lets them know this is what you have to do to be successful as a contractor. You don't want to show up to your first counseling session and know nothing about where you are in the business world or in the contracting world. It's not a good use of your time, and it's not a good use of our counselors' time. So please do download this checklist and take some time to go through it. It will really, really help to prepare you. Okay, so we've come to the end of this presentation. I'd like to thank everybody for your fantastic questions. As usual, they are insightful, they make us think, they make us, do extra research and keep on top of our game. So we appreciate every bit of input that you've given us. And I'd like to thank all my colleagues on the team. They have a wealth of knowledge and expertise that honestly, you're not going to get anywhere else. You're really not, especially at no cost to you as a business owner. So thank you all very much for taking time out of your busy schedules to do this every year. And I hope to see you at a future APEX Accelerator event. And hopefully you're already signed up with us for counseling. If not, you will hopefully do that. And I do have to let you know that at the moment, it's about 30 business day wait. I know it's a wait list. Unfortunately, the demand is high. And we are trying to help everybody. So please be patient with us, and we will eventually get to helping you. So thanks again, everybody. I will be sending you a recording of this shortly, and we hope to see you all again soon. All right, then. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.